Over the years, gun control has been a topic of much debate and controversy in the United States, with advocates and opponents passionately arguing their positions. However, amidst this debate, there have been several major scandals that have rocked the gun control world and exposed deep flaws and challenges in efforts to regulate firearms. In this video, we will take a closer look at some of these scandals, exploring their causes, implications, and the lessons we can learn from them. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of gun control scandals. The Fast and Furious Scandal. The Fast and Furious Scandal, also known as Operation Fast and Furious, was a controversial gun-running operation carried out by the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, between 2006 and 2011. The operation aimed to track the flow of illegal firearms from the United States to Mexican drug cartels by allowing the sale of firearms to suspected straw purchasers, with the hope of tracing them to cartel members. However, the operation quickly went awry as many of the guns sold were not properly tracked, and ended up in the hands of criminals who used them to commit violent crimes, including the murder of a U.S. Border Patrol agent, Brian Terry. In total, over 2,000 firearms were allowed to walk across the border, with only a small fraction being recovered by authorities. The scandal came to light in 2011, when whistleblowers within the ATF came forward to expose the operation. The ensuing investigation led to the resignation of several high-ranking officials within the ATF and the U.S. Department of Justice, including Attorney General Eric Holder. The scandal also sparked a political firestorm, with Republicans in Congress launching a series of investigations and hearings to hold those responsible accountable. Critics of the operation argued that it was poorly planned and executed, and put the lives of both U.S. and Mexican citizens in danger. They also pointed to the fact that the operation seemed to be part of a larger effort to push for more stringent gun control laws in the United States, rather than a legitimate effort to combat drug trafficking. In the end, the Fast and Furious scandal served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of poorly conceived law enforcement operations and the importance of transparency and accountability in government. It also highlighted the need for improved cooperation between U.S. and Mexican law enforcement agencies in the ongoing fight against drug trafficking and organized crime. The Sandy Hook Shooting. The Sandy Hook shooting was a tragic event that took place on December 14, 2012, at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. On that day, a 20-year-old gunman named Adam Lanza entered the school and opened fire, killing 20 children and 6 adult staff members, before turning the gun on himself. The shooting sent shockwaves across the United States and around the world, with many calling for greater gun control measures to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The incident also prompted a national conversation about mental health and the need for better access to care and support. In the wake of the shooting, there was a renewed push for stricter gun control laws, including universal background checks and a ban on assault weapons. However, these efforts were met with resistance from gun rights advocates, who argued that such measures would infringe on their Second Amendment rights. The tragedy at Sandy Hook also led to a number of changes in school security procedures, including the implementation of new protocols for lockdowns and active shooter drills. It also spurred a nationwide movement of young activists, led by survivors of the shooting, who have continued to push for greater gun control measures and reforms to prevent future gun violence. The Sandy Hook shooting remains one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history and a painful reminder of the toll that gun violence can take on communities. While progress has been made in the years since the shooting, with some states enacting stricter gun laws and new initiatives aimed at addressing mental health issues, there is still much work to be done to prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future. The Parkland Shooting. The Parkland shooting, also known as the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, was a tragic incident that occurred on February 14, 2018, at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. The shooting resulted in the deaths of 17 people, including 14 students and 3 staff members. The shooter, a 19-year-old former student, entered the school carrying an AR-15 rifle and began firing indiscriminately. The attack lasted just a few minutes, but left a lasting impact on the Parkland community and the nation as a whole. In the aftermath of the shooting, students who survived the attack quickly became vocal advocates for stricter gun control measures, organizing rallies and marches to demand action from lawmakers. The movement they started, known as March for Our Lives, gained national attention and inspired similar protests around the country. The shooting also prompted a number of policy changes, including the passage of a Florida law that raised the age limit for buying firearms, banned bump stocks, and created a new process for temporarily confiscating guns from individuals deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. Despite these efforts, however, the issue of gun control remains a contentious and polarizing one in the United States. Many gun rights advocates argue that stricter laws will not prevent mass shootings, and that individuals have a right to own firearms for self-defense and other purposes. Supporters of gun control, on the other hand, believe that stronger regulations are necessary to prevent dangerous individuals from obtaining weapons and committing acts of violence. The Parkland shooting was a tragic event that left a deep scar on the Parkland community and the nation as a whole. While progress has been made in the years since the shooting, there is still much work to be done to prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future. National Rifle Association, NRA, financial scandal. The National Rifle Association, NRA, is one of the most prominent gun rights advocacy organizations in the United States, with a powerful lobbying presence in Washington, D.C. However, in recent years, the organization has been rocked by a financial scandal that has raised questions about its management and integrity. In 2019, an investigation by the New York Attorney General's office revealed that the NRA had engaged in financial misconduct and mismanagement, including using funds for personal expenses and awarding contracts to associates without competitive bidding. The investigation found that the organization had violated numerous state and federal laws, and was facing significant financial challenges as a result. The scandal led to the resignation of several top NRA officials, including the organization's president, Oliver North. The organization also faced legal challenges, including a lawsuit by the New York Attorney General seeking to dissolve the organization and oust its leadership. The NRA has denied any wrongdoing, and has argued that the investigation is politically motivated and part of a larger effort to undermine gun rights in the United States. However, the scandal has raised serious questions about the organization's transparency and accountability, and has led some members to call for reforms and changes to the group's leadership structure. The NRA financial scandal has had significant implications for the gun control debate in the United States, and has fueled calls for stricter regulations on lobbying and advocacy organizations. It has also highlighted the need for greater transparency and accountability in the nonprofit sector, and the importance of ensuring that organizations are using their resources in accordance with their stated missions and values. Gun violence in Chicago. Gun violence in Chicago is a long-standing and pervasive issue that has been the subject of national attention and debate. The city has long been known for its high rates of violent crime, with gun violence being a particular concern. According to the Chicago Police Department, there were over 4,000 shootings and 770 homicides in the city in 2020. While these numbers have decreased slightly in recent years, gun violence remains a significant public health and safety issue in many of the city's neighborhoods. There are a number of factors that contribute to the problem of gun violence in Chicago, including poverty, unemployment, and a lack of investment in education and social services. Gang activity is also a major contributor, with many shootings and homicides being the result of conflicts between rival groups. Efforts to address gun violence in Chicago have been ongoing for many years, with law enforcement agencies, community organizations, and elected officials all working to find solutions. These efforts have included increased police presence in high-crime areas, community outreach programs, and initiatives to provide job training and other resources to at-risk individuals. Despite these efforts, however, gun violence in Chicago remains a complex and deeply rooted issue, with no easy solutions. Some advocates have called for stricter gun control laws, while others argue that the focus should be on addressing the root causes of violence and investing in community-based solutions. Ultimately, addressing gun violence in Chicago will require a multifaceted approach that takes into account the complex social, economic, and cultural factors that contribute to the problem. It will also require a commitment from all levels of government and society to work together to find meaningful and lasting solutions. Conclusion. These scandals and tragedies have sparked passionate debates over gun control in the United States. While there is no easy solution to the problem of gun violence, it's clear that something needs to be done to prevent future tragedies. Whether through stronger background checks, restrictions on certain types of firearms, or increased resources for mental health treatment, it's up to all of us to find a way forward that protects our rights and our safety. Thank you for watching this special episode of Controversial Chronicles.